I have a clothes horse that belonged to my parents. He was old even when I was a kid, and it must be closing in on 70 years old. It's seen its share of wear and tear, and a few years back, a couple of the stringers broke. Here's a similar one from the 1950-ish Eaton's catalog, and it cost $2.19. When my parents bought this one, it cost no more than $2.50 at the most. And I think it's worthwhile repairing, as I don't think we've got our money out of it just yet. Before taking it apart, I puzzled over how to make the round tenons. I wanted to work with what I had on hand. So I came up with the idea of using wooden plugs to mount the new stringers in a length of 1 1/2 inch diameter ABS pipe. Then, using the dado cutter on the table saw, I would cut the tenons by rotating the pipe and the stringer inside of it. So I thought I would use a hole cutting saw to cut the round plugs, and then use a jigsaw to cut out the square holes for the stringer. My first step was to precisely measure and mark a piece of scrap wood to ensure that I cut the piece accurately. I used a 1 1/2 inch diameter saw to match the inside diameter of the pipe. The saw has thin blades, so the plug will only be a little undersized, and I should be able to pad out the diameter with some tape. The one problem I have with my little hole cutting saw is that it tends to overheat very quickly, especially in plywood. Here's the plug, and it has a diameter of 1 15/32 of an inch. However, the pipe has an internal diameter of 1 9/16 of an inch, not 1 1/2. And that ended as well as could be expected. And that's what you get for assuming. So I cut a new plug, the next size up, 1 3/4 of an inch. This new plug is 1 11/16 of an inch across, and I don't think I want to sand this down to fit the pipe. So back to the drawing board. The new idea is to create a plug using rectangular pieces on either side of the stringer and then trapezoidal pieces on the top and the bottom. And along with some tape, these should hold it in place. Now to cut the new pieces. First, a square side stock.
Where the heck did it go? Oh, there it is.
Then the trapezoidal top and bottom stock. Now cutting the pieces out of the stock and testing it on a piece of broken stringer.
Ta-da!
Now I'll commit to cutting new stringers. I didn't want to take anything apart until I was sure I could make the pieces. I'm cutting each stringer to 28 3/4 inches. I'm making the tenons a little bit long to give myself some room to play with, and I'll just cut off any excess at the end. I am cutting the ABS pipe to 25 1/4 inches, the overall length minus the total length of the tenons. Here's one of the originals compared to the new ones. They look pretty good. Now it's time to mount the stringer into the ABS pipe. I then added screws to ensure the plugs don't slip out. For rounding the tenon, I replaced my rip blade with the dado cutter. And now I can proceed to round off the tenons for the stringers. I use the miter gauge to guide the pipe directly on the table. Until this point, I held back on disassembling the clothes horse. I was afraid it would break. I wasn't too sure how easy it would be to get nails out of 70-year-old wood. You can see how close the new tenon is to the old one. I made mine a little longer than the old ones, and I'll just trim them to length once installed. Now it's just a matter of sanding, testing, and more sanding until it fits. Finding the correct nails took a little patience. I didn't have the right length, so I chose the closest I had. Then assembly and gentle nailing. It's not great form, but it worked. And there it is, fixed. It may not last another 70 years, but I'm pretty sure we can get our full $2.50 out of it.